is a vital part of this community since its founding in 1638. Welcome first to our visitors today. We will hope you will join us for a picnic downstairs and outside shortly after the service. Our mission is to build community, search for meaning, deepen our spirituality, and make for a better world. If you have questions about First Parish or Unitarian Universalism, please seek out someone at the welcome table downstairs, or reach out to Reverend Lisa or Kate Holland, our Director of Lifespan Education. They will be delighted to meet you. Speaking of lifespan education, First Parish has been unable to hire a paid teacher to spend about 3 hours a week on Sunday to help us so that we can split and have 2 classes instead of the single one that we have now. If you know of somebody who might be interested in doing this, please contact Kate, and we'd be grateful so we can get more of this off the ground. Thank you to our other service participants named in the order of service, and to our tech team in the back. And please take a moment to silence your cell phones for our time together. Please join me now. Take a moment to say hello to one another. And also please give a wave online to the all-seeing eye, to the online people who see you through the camera. Before we turn our hearts and minds to worship, I'd like to introduce Helen Green and Matt Shear, who have an announcement to share.
Good morning, everybody. Helen and I are members of the Ministerial Search Committee, and we thank you for having appointed us to this. We thought we'd just take a few minutes to let you know what we've been up to so far, because while the church year is just getting started here, we've been working throughout the summer. We met a number of times, and including having a retreat with Christine Purcell, who is Congregational Transitions Director for the UUA. And I'm only mentioning this because I'm pleased to report that she endorsed your choice of this committee. Very impressed with how well we've come together as a group. So that bodes well for what we're going to do the rest of the year forward. Now, the work over the summer was mostly focused on organizing ourselves as a committee, with a number of people taking the lead on the many parts that produce a ministerial candidate for us. But now we're ready to launch into the work that involves you all. And so in the fall, there are 3 tasks we're going to be working with you on: soliciting feedback from the congregation so we can prepare documents that will entice those candidates to say, I want to serve that church. And as part of that, we will be soliciting your feedback in 2 ways, which Helen will talk about in a moment, and you're all going to be invited to a wonderful congregation-wide workshop that will look into areas how we might unawarely bring bias into our selection, missing a wonderful candidate. But in January, we will be reviewing the backgrounds of those potential candidates who have expressed an interest in us, and we will, through watching some of their stuff online and talking with them, choose 3 or 4 pre-candidates that we will then meet with personally and spend considerable time with, producing the one candidate that we will present to you at the end of April for you to choose. And now Helen will get into some of the details of our fall programming.
Okay, so we're going to begin the process of soliciting your input into the selection of a new minister. So to that point, you'll be receiving soon an invitation to fill out a survey. It'll be online, but also available in writing in a hard copy here at church, or we can mail it to you if you need to be. It'll help us understand the views of the congregation, and it'll help to form a backdrop for the small group meetings that we're going to have. Those are called cottage meetings or focus groups, and you'll be invited to also participate in those activities. You'll have direct contact with somebody. As well as that, if you want to make any kind of other information or have any other thoughts that you want to share but doesn't necessarily fit to a survey or to a focus group, we have an email address called search@uuwayland.org, and there's a message that will be in the mailbox which we shared with the committee. And let's see what else here. Am I not close enough? Is this closer? Did everybody get it all? Okay. Sorry about that. I usually have a voice that can carry, because since I was a teacher. Let's see. I think I've got it all. Okay. With your help, with these two parts, in person and a survey, it will help us come up with some information that we can then give to a candidate to let them know more about what we would like to see in a minister. So this is your chance to give us information. I didn't realize how close you have to be. Okay, and with your help, we'll have a brand new minister in a year that you had a lot of input in selecting.
I'm going to invite Keith Sims and maybe Pat Sims to come and light the chalice for us this morning.
And we say together, with open minds and loving hearts, we gathered to search for meaning, to care for one another, and to work together for a better world.
Good morning. Welcome back if this is your first Sunday back in this space. Welcome back if you're just returning from your summer adventures. And a special welcome to those who are new or feel new. I'm still new, so let's be new together. And for all of us, as we said last week, once you come in that door, you are part of our First Parish family, so welcome home. I'm Reverend Lisa Perrywood. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm your contract interim minister for this year. I'm delighted to be with all of you in this beautiful space on this lovely summer morning, end of summer morning. Today we're exploring the wildness around us and in us all. In her book, Church of the Wild, How Nature Invites Us into the Sacred, author Victoria Loorz invites us to look more deeply at a community that's larger than our own species. We're invited to fall in love again with our suffering earth, a love that will deepen our connection with all living things. And with all the struggle and conflict in the world right now, we need this connection more than ever. These are the words of author, educator, and activist Parker Palmer. The soul is like a wild animal, tough, resilient, savvy, self-sufficient, and yet exceedingly shy. If we want to see a wild animal, the last thing we should do is go crashing into the woods, shouting for the creature to come out. But if we are willing to walk quietly into the woods and sit silently for an hour or so at the base of a tree, the creature we are waiting for may well emerge, and out of the corner of an eye, we'll catch a glimpse of the precious wildness we seek. Now, dear friends, come into this sacred and beloved space we co-create each week, and let us worship together. Please rise as you are willing and or able, and join in singing hymn number 38, Morning Has Broken, which you'll find in your gray hymnal.
Good morning. My name is Kate Holland. I am the lifespan religious educator here at First Parish, and my pronouns are she and her. So normally during this time, it is my job usually to tell a story, but this morning we're going to break it up a little bit. So I am announcing that there is a change coming to our service. So I would like anybody who's been here for a while, who knows the song that we usually sing the kids out to? Anybody know? A couple of people, yeah? So usually, and forgive me, you're going to get to hear my singing voice, we sing Go Now in Peace. And so the words to Go Now in Peace are, go now in peace, go now in peace, may the love of all surround you. We're stopping there because many of us may not know that that is not the way that the actual hymn is written, that we have changed the words. So the way the hymn is actually written, it's may the love of God surround you. And so the composer's estate, or the composer, I'm not sure which, has asked that the song not be sung with any changes in the words. So we thought, since some of us might have a problem with sending off the kids with the love of God, not everybody does, but some people might, that we would switch it up and try a new tune. And so I'm not allowed to say the name of the song that we're singing because it's in Latin and I will butcher it. But the good thing is that Lucy has come up and she's going to say the name and she's going to teach us to sing it as well. You want Lucy for hearing impaired? You want to?
All right, I'm not used to teaching singing in a microphone, so we're going to all have some surprises. Kate found the hymn in the book, it's hymn 390, and we are only going to sing the very first section of it, the first 7 measures. But Natalie Sleeth, the composer, wrote, Gaudeamus Hodie. I'll say it again and you say it back to me. Gaudeamus Hodie. Once more. Gaudeamus Hodie. And we will sing together. I'll start it. Polly, you see? Gaudeamus, Gaudeamus. Your turn. Gaudeamus, Gaudeamus. My turn. Gaudeamus Hodie. Gaudeamus Hodie. My turn. Gaudeamus, Gaudeamus. Gaudeamus, Gaudeamus. My turn. Hodie. Your turn. We're going to sing the whole song through twice.
What does it mean?
Oh. I left out my line. Gaudeamus, let us be joyful. Hodie, today. Let us be joyful today. So, thank you. Fact checker. So we're going to sing it through twice, and the children are going to walk to their seat classes with Kate. And Gaudeamus, Gaudeamus, Gaudeamus Hodie. Gaudeamus, Gaudeamus Hodie. One more time. Gaudeamus, Gaudeamus, Gaudeamus Hodie. Gaudeamus, Gaudeamus
I am Kathy Schmidt, a lay minister of this congregation. This is the time in our service we set aside to acknowledge our joys and sorrows that we all hold. In both our sharing and in our witness, we affirm our covenant to care for one another. Each Sunday, we light a vigil candle in recognition of the pain and suffering experienced around the world due to ongoing war, violence, and political unrest. May this small act help us unite in our prayer for the end of all suffering. If you have a personal joy or sorrow you would like to share, please feel welcome to come forward now or raise your hand and I will bring the mic to you. Those online can type your joys or sorrows in the chat and I will read them. As Reverend Lisa lights one more candle on behalf of those joys and sorrows that are left unspoken, let us all hold each other in a circle of care with a moment of silence. Blessed be.
Now we invite you to quietly sing in your seats hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. Each week in what I call our centering moment, I'll offer a prayer, a meditation, some time for silence, perhaps a guided meditation or an embodied prayer. This is simply a time to be here and deepen into the moment. And now please join me in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life and love, we ask for prayers this morning for healing for all those who have surgery or are in need of healing prayers. May all feel held by the love of this community and have peace. This is a fall equinox meditation by Lori Golgas-Laban. We'll end this meditation with a time of silence, which I'll end with the ringing of the singing bowl. Make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes if you wish, or cast them downward, and just allow these words to wash over you. Pause balanced in the center between the longest and shortest days. Equinox. The wheel of the year turns and turns again. The air cools, days shorten, the sun seems to weaken, barely clearing the horizon after rising before beginning its descent. This is our opportunity now to pause, balanced, breathing in, breathing out, knowing this present moment. This present moment is all we are guaranteed. Like the sun moving toward the shortest day, each moment arises and is gone before we know it. This is the time to pause and consider. As we enter the season of contemplation, of increasing darkness, of lying fallow, of dormancy. This is the season of letting go, of lightening burdens, of preparing for a long period of being still, going deep. Pause and consider. Binaries, dark and light, hot and cold, chaos and order. Neither extreme is inherently good or bad. It's all a matter of balance, of honoring the spectrum for which binaries mark the endpoints. This week we mark the midpoint between summer and winter solstice, a time to seek balance and to be free. Blessed be. Amen. Before I introduce the offering, I first want to say another thank you so much to Polly and the choir for such beautiful pastoral music this morning. What a blessing. The offering we give each week is a symbol of our commitment to this community and to the free faith of this church. We receive it gratefully with appreciation for our community and all that sustains us. If you're here for the first time, please let the plate pass you by. You are our guest. You may place the offering in the plate as it comes around or give by text or online. The giving instructions are in your order of service. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Good morning. Today I'd like to share with you a life-affirming poem by Mary Oliver called Invitation. Oh, do you have the time to linger for just a little while out of your busy and very important day? For the goldfinches that have gathered in a field of thistles for a musical battle? To see who can sing the highest note or the lowest, or the most expressive of mirth, or the most tender. Their strong, blunt beaks drink the air as they strive melodiously, not for your sake and not for mine, and not for the sake of winning, but for the sheer delight and gratitude. Believe us, they say, it is a serious thing just to be alive. On this fresh morning in the broken world, I beg of you, do not walk by without pausing to attend to this rather ridiculous performance. It could mean something. It could mean everything. It could be what Rilke meant when he wrote, "You must change your life."
Oh, do you have time to linger for just a little while out of your busy and very important day for the goldfinches that have gathered in a field of thistles? As I read these words this week and as I listened to Keith's reading just now, tears came to my eyes. There's something so poignant in the phrase, "Oh, do you have time?" Do you feel that too? There's a kind of urgency in Oliver's poem. She begs us not to miss out on what is offered to us, especially now when so much of what we see and hear about in the world is brokenness and harm. We need to remember the bounty that is available to us in every moment, simply by being alive, alive in the rich abundance of the world, the goldfinches, the early autumn leaves, the ever-changing light of every season. Oliver is calling us to a moment of revolution, a quiet and personal one, and a wondering, even in our busy and very important days, and don't they all seem that way? Can we let the wonders of the world around us move and change us? We're talking about a revolution in where we place our attention and how we spend our time. And it seems that time is such a precious commodity these days. I thought of that this week as I tried to squeeze in all the meetings and phone calls and emails that seemed so urgent and so necessary, so compelling. And then this weekend, when I spent an hour or so holding a 5-week-old baby as she slept, well then, time just seemed totally irrelevant. There was all the time in the world just to be present, to inhale all of her fresh-to-this-worldness, that still newborn scent, to gaze at her open and trusting face, watch her eyes try to focus on mine, marvel at those tiny shell-like ears. All of the urgency of the week just fell away. We humans measure out time in minutes, hours, days, and years, and we're prone to feeling we need to squeeze out of our time as much accomplishment as we can, to crowd in as many activities, appointments, and tasks as a week will allow. Does that sound familiar? It seems to be in our nature, especially here in the US, to compete over how busy we are, how much we're doing. I hear even those in retirement saying, "I'm busier than I ever was when I was working." But is that a laudable goal? Is our focus on busyness, constantly being on the move, our pride in multitasking, is that serving us? Are we happier, more satisfied with our lives, even, dare I say, more peaceful? And if not, What could we change, and how? Of course, these are questions without easy answers, and ones that I've been asking myself over the past year or so as I aim in the direction of what some of my colleagues have been calling slow ministry. Slow meaning not, let's try to do as little work as possible, or let's stall and avoid moving projects forward. No, this means slow as in taking regular pauses to lift our heads up from our computers or phones and look at the sky. Slow as in pacing ourselves through our days, taking breaks, making space for a little stretching, for snacks, long drinks of water, for interacting with others in our home or our workplaces. Breaks to just breathe. And clearly, this is not just a healthy idea for ministers to sustain our work. This is a benefit for all of us. It reminded me of a story my daughter told me. She asked her 8-year-old son, who loves to draw, if he'd like to add another after-school activity, an art class that a school friend's mother was leading. "No," he said adamantly, "that's too much. What about my free child life?" And you know, I think he's right. I think maybe all of us need a little more free child life. As children, most of us didn't concern ourselves with how much we were accomplishing, with keeping busy or meeting goals. Most of the time when we weren't boxed into desks and classrooms, when we were free of any obligations, we were just free. For my part, I was lucky enough to live not that far from here in a house that was surrounded by woods. I spent so much of my time with a gang of neighborhood kids of all ages running free among the trees, exploring paths and building forts, damming up small streams, or playing games that we invented. Outside my third-floor bedroom window was a huge oak I thought of as my tree friend. It had no low-hanging branches to climb up, but at times I imagined climbing out of my window into its highest boughs to hide away. I still feel strongly connected to that tree, and I was so happy to see it still standing when I stopped by to visit my old house a few years ago. They love it too. Nature has been a lifelong companion for me, as it has for many of us. The great theologian and philosopher Howard Thurman was known for his oak tree prayers. Thurman often returned to the oak tree of his childhood home to pray, reflect, and receive its strength. These are his words. "When I was young, I found more companionship in nature than I did among people. I needed the strength of that tree, and like it, I wanted to hold my ground. Eventually," he said, "I discovered that the oak tree and I had a unique relationship. I could sit my back against its trunk and feel the same peace that would come to me in my bed at night. I could reach down in the quiet places of my spirit, take out my bruises and my joys, unfold them, and talk about them. I could talk aloud to the oak tree and know that I was understood." It's no wonder that so many of us feel that Thurman understood us and the human condition so very deeply. As Parker Palmer says, "I knew him well, and he knew me." In her book, Church of the Wild, How Nature Invites Us into the Sacred, Victoria Loorz reminds us of our ancient longing to feel connected to nature, to wildness, a longing rooted in our ancestors' sense of belonging to a great web of life. They were called into wilderness by a voice that spoke in words planted silently in their hearts, she says, by the voices of the cedar trees, the lilies, the desert sands, called into wilderness to listen, to prepare, to be tested and encouraged and strengthened. But the time came when our ancestors no longer heard those voices, says Loorz. They were happier controlling the world than loving it. Disconnected from the world, their voices went missing in the symphony of aliveness. And what a tragedy that was. Out of her deeply felt sense of the importance of our reconnection to nature, Loorz created Church of the Wild, a gathering for like-minded people in a meadow or clearing in the woods. Churches like these are now springing up all over the country as seekers find places to connect and reconnect to the natural world and to all wild things. They're rediscovering that spirituality and nature are not separate, that there's a wildness in all of us that longs to be freed. If this idea speaks to you, Loorz invites you to create your own ways to gather in appreciation and wonder. She offers no guidelines, no trainings for this exploration. All it requires is an openness to what is there, all around us, in this marvelous bounty that nature provides. You don't even need to go outside. Simply spending time gazing in wonder through a window at a tree or clouds in the sky, at the squirrels busying themselves, the birds at a feeder, that can be enough. Allowing yourself the time to breathe and feel a part of it all. I was lucky enough to preach outdoors this summer on an island in the middle of a New Hampshire lake, where the parishioners arrived in boats of all sizes, and I led worship under the open sky. What a beautiful gift that was, to speak and sing and share fellowship in the open air, accentuated by an occasional bird song, where gaps between trees formed windows to the clear lake and the mountains beyond. Reclaiming the wild is reclaiming who you are meant to be, who the world is meant to be, says Loorz. Wild means swirling around in dynamic and even loving relationship, because all wild things are naturally interconnected. And yet, wildness has gotten a bad rap in our culture. We take it to mean out of control, as in running wild. We need to reclaim wildness as freedom, creativity, imagination, and inspiration. To be wild is to be true to our inner child, the source of joyful abandon. To be wild is to be one with nature. I'm reminded of Buddhist monk and teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, who spoke of our interbeing with the natural world. Thai, as he was known, encouraged us to sit with our backs against a tree, deeply feeling its treeness, or gaze at an orange, picturing its life cycle from a tiny seed into your hand. These are simple, beautifully heartening exercises. Experiences like these reconnect us to all life, to everything that has beingness. Experiences like these are also part of what Buddhist author and teacher Joanna Macy calls the work that reconnects, setting aside time to acknowledge the pain of our suffering earth and move together through our despair, grief, and outrage into compassion. And Macy is not the only one who believes that love is what is needed to reconnect us to the wild. A leading environmental scientist has said, the top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with these, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. And we scientists, he concludes, we don't know how to do that. Now, who does know something about love as transformation, as a transformative healing power in the world? We do. We UUs, who place love at the center of our values, who work for justice on the side of love, we who have centered love for decades. If it is true, as a study on spiritual patterns of Americans showed, that nearly 6 in 10 adults often feel a deep connection with the earth, whether they're affiliated with a religious community or not, then we have something to offer them. Many writers have spoken about spiritual geography, that deep feeling of connection to place, whether in cities and towns or under the vast western sky. Kathleen Norris, in her book about the Dakotas, says, "On a clear night, you can not only see thousands of stars, but the lights of towns 50 miles away. Scattered between you and the horizon, the lights of farmhouses look like ships at sea." Lauren Isley, the naturalist, once commented on the way the Plains people have been strung out at nighttime under a vast solitude rather than linked to the old world village with its adjoining plots. "We were mad to settle the West this way," he says. "You cannot fight the sky." I believe that many people have stories of an encounter with what Loorz calls the veil of disconnection, when the veil of disconnection drops and we're able to experience our deep belonging to an interconnected and sacred earth. I'm sure many of us here have felt that too. For me, when I choose to make space in my week to swim at Walden Pond, there is a place where I feel that sense of interbeing. Floating in cool, clear water, gazing at the sky above, surrounded by evergreen trees, there, I am immersed in wildness. Even as other swimmers pass me by, I can sense my connection to the depths of that kettle hole, 103 feet deep at its center. And it always has a settling feeling for me, a feeling that all is right with the world. It's a reset. No matter what stress or anxiety, conflicts or challenges the day or week has brought, it all seems to melt away in those moments of immersion. In the words of Thoreau himself, we need the tonic of wildness. At the same time that we are earnest to explore and learn all things, we require that all things be mysterious and unexplorable, that land and sea be indefinitely wild, unsurveyed, and unfathomed by us, because unfathomable. We can never have enough of nature, he says. It's up to every one of us to find our place in the family of wild things, coming home again to the wild places that live in each of us. The soul is like a wild animal, tough, resilient, savvy, self-sufficient, and yet exceedingly shy, says Parker Palmer. If we are to reconnect to the wildness in all things, we must, as Parker suggests, walk quietly, sit silently, allowing the creature to emerge. Dear friends, let us give space to the wildness in each of us, feeling our connection to all wild things. Let nature hold us, all of our moods and memories, full of unanswered questions and concerns. Turn to the wild, embrace what is on offer, which is new each moment of the day. Feel yourself being filled up by the pure spring of inspiration. And let love of the natural world grow and expand our love for all living things, animate or inanimate, inspiring us to nurture and protect each other and the world around us. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Please join me in our chalice extinguishing words, which you'll find in your order of service. We extinguish this flame. Now please rise as you are willing and able, and join in singing hymn number 309, "The Earth is Our Homeland."
Here are our closing words. Scatter in me the seeds of 1,000 saplings. Let grow a grassy heaven, on my brow a sun. This bliss is yours, living world, and alone it endures. Music at midnight, young wine, lovers hand in hand by daylight, moonlight. Living world, hold me in your mouth, slip on your frivolous shoes, and dance with me. Beloved friends, take all that we have shared here this morning out into the world. Be a blessing to all those you meet, and may you yourselves be blessed. Amen.